computer. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Gina.
I'm Alicia.
And with us today is our friend, Jeff Geier. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, everybody. It's great to be with you two again and everybody out there in YouTube land. Yeah, it's awesome.
It is good to be back with you today. And Jeff, I got to tell you, you got me all fired up in our last podcast episode because we've got the mindset, right? The own it. We own our stuff. Now what? Help us, Jeff.
Right. So now I own it. I own all this stuff. Where do I put it? Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's great. And the own it thing, and I'm glad that jazzed you up when I learned it. In fact, we talk about this a lot, that these things, the tools that we provide or that we pick up along the way by watching podcasts like this or reading books or, going to school or all that stuff. It's to turn the dial, to be in that constant state of improvement. So I'm trying to improve all the time. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to make mistakes. It doesn't mean that there's times that, even though I have bought into and subscribed to the own it mindset, that I'm going to act or feel or even talk like a victim. That part doesn't mean you're a failure. It means you're a human being. And that once we recognize that, then we keep moving forward, right? And so, so I own it. My circumstance, my process, my outcome, it's all my responsibility. So I don't like where I'm at. I want to go to a different place. I have a different goal, or I have different aspirations. Or how do I get there? That's kind of the next step, right? I have all this stuff. Now, what am I going to do? And the goals can be both, work goals and life goals. In fact, I met with a group. I was meeting with a group yesterday, and we talked about that we do not live to work. It's the other way around. We work so that we can live. And so, yes. Right. Yeah, I haven't found anybody that once you say it like that disagrees with it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to instill that into my kids. You got to do the work so that you can do the play.
Right. Now, I for one, and I'll tell you, there have been more times in my life than I would like to admit. My wife calls them seasons in my life where work overtook my life.
Yep.
And it's one of those times that please, everybody, don't do what I did. It just doesn't work out good. By the grace of God, I'm still married. My kids still like me. My siblings and I still communicate with each other, because there were times that work was the only thing, and it burns the candle out really, really quickly. So let's get to the kind of the goal thing. If I'm smart enough here, I'm going to share my screen on a PowerPoint thing, and golly, I hope I do it right. We'll see what happens. Here we go. No, stand by. See, now my other screen won't go off. There it is.
Okay.
Can you see the probability of completing a goal?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh my goodness.
Jeff,
here we go.
I wanted to mention something to you about you were having that beautiful, gorgeous moment about being compassionate with ourselves in this pursuit of our own accountability and our own goals and things like that, because that is the very truth of it all, is that we're gigantic messes of human beings, and those mistakes get made. We go back to being victims. That sort of thing happens a lot, but having that moment of recognizing it and then getting it out of the way and moving on is key. You can kick yourself for a minute, but then stop and move on. So I appreciate you saying that. Okay.
Yes, that is absolutely right. And we're human beings. And so even when we've moved on, there's times that we think about stuff that happened years ago.
Oh.
And I agree with you totally, Gina. You have to learn, what did I learn, so that I can apply what I've learned moving forward. right? And live your life looking out the windshield, not looking in the rearview mirror, right?
Oh, yeah.
That stuff. There's a song I really like, and it talks about. In fact, it's in the chorus of the song, I believe, that yesterday is a closing door. I don't live there anymore. And so take what you've learned so that you can apply it and move forward. So let's talk about goal setting. I mean, we're a couple months now after the end of the year, although it feels like we're in the 14th or so month of 2020, right? I saw that the other day. This isn't 2021, it's the 14th month of 2020. But so goal setting. So I have this mindset that's my circumstances, my process, my outcomes, and I want to go in a different direction. So how best to do that? And this study came from the American Society of Training and Development. You can see that there on your screen. Hopefully I got it up there now, right?
Yes.
You do.
Okay. So to increase the odds of reaching your goals by 95%, that's pretty good. That makes it almost impossible not to reach your goals. 95% is pretty good. So here's the probability. And the first one is one of my favorites. If I click on it here, is you actually have to have an idea or a goal, something to work for, right? It's that the whole concept about if you aim at nothing, you're likely to hit it. So the chance of just increases by 10% if you actually have a goal. So whatever that goal is, if it's in work or in life or in your school or with your kids or your spouse or your church or your boss or your coworker, it doesn't matter. You got to have a goal. Okay. And if you consciously decide to do it, and I think I've used this before, I've had a couple people tell me that I'm kind of starting to be known for this question, and that is, if two frogs are sitting on a log and one frog decides to jump off, how many frogs are left on the log?
One.
And the answer is two. Yeah, right. One, no, two.
All
Two
right.
frogs sitting on the log. One decided to jump off. How many are left? There's two frogs still left on the log because he only decided to jump, right? He didn't put any action in, right? So if you consciously make that decision, that moves you closer to your goal. And in fact, from this study on accountability, it moves you 25%, the probability goes up by 25%. So making the decision, making that commitment consciously, it's not I think I want to do this. That's not a conscious decision, all right? That's a wish, and it's not going to get you there. And here's a big one. This one makes it almost go up by 40%. That if you decide when you do it, so put a time frame on it. I would like to learn how to play the piano. And you decide, yep, that's what I'm going to do. I've decided I'm going to learn how to play the piano. So the chances of you, the probability of you completing that goal is about 25%. But if you say, I'm going to learn how to play the piano and I'm going to do it by December 1st of this year, then you've got the probability goes to 40% because you've time bound it. Okay. And then the next one is, and then you actually, plan how you're going to do it. So I said, I'm going to learn how to play the piano and I'm going to do it by the 1st of December of this year. And I'm going to practice 30 minutes every day, starting at 6 p.m. to 6:30 or, whatever it is. So that you actually have a plan that you can stick with, right? Pretty straightforward stuff. That seems, okay, that makes sense. But now here we're really getting into the meat where you're increasing the probability to over 50 per 50. It's just a toss up. I don't want the probability of me reaching my goals to be just a 50-50 proposition. I want to be able to get there. And how do I do that? One of the best ways to get you over that 50-50 hurdle is commit to someone else that you're going to actually do it. So I would say, hey, Alicia, did you know that I've decided I'm going to learn how to play the piano and I'm going to do it by December 1st. And, most people would go, oh, that's awesome. Great. Way to go. Or we'd talk about, my Aunt Bessie used to play the piano or, whatever. So commit to somebody else. And then here's the really big one. And we go through all those to get to this one, which is to have that not only the commitment to the person that you're going to do it, but then set up a specific accountability appointment with that person that you committed to. So Alicia, would you be willing to be my accountability partner? Call whatever you want. Hold me accountable. That I want to learn how to play the piano, and I'm going to do it by December of this year, and I'm going to practice 30 minutes every day. Would you be willing to check in with me once a week to make sure that I'm on task?
That I'm on my calendar.
Right. Just, send me a text or whatever. How's the piano practicing going? Right. And then I want you to, if 2 weeks in a row, I say I haven't practiced, I want you to call me and ask me, what in the world are you doing? Right.
Yep.
When you have that kind of accountability appointment with the person that you've committed to, and this person, by the way, what most times isn't going to be your spouse or significant other. Yeah. Most times. It has to be somebody that like and trust. It can't be just Joe Blow from the grocery store. It has to be somebody. But if you make that conscious decision, build the plan to do it, then commit to somebody that like and trust that you're going to do it, and then set up these specific accountability appointments. Whatever works. It doesn't have to be weekly. It depends upon what you're doing. If you're, I'm going to build a house or whatever, maybe weekly is too often. I don't know. But set up that appointment with somebody, and the probability of you actually reaching that goal goes to 95%. It is almost a done deal.
Wow.
And so here's the question. Why would we not do that?
Exactly.
The only reason, typically, is because we didn't understand that's how it works.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand that's how it works. Now, some people will say, "Well, Jeff, I want to be a pro basketball player, and just because I do this doesn't make me a pro basketball player." Right. I agree. And depending, if you were 72 years old, that, even the former pro basketball players aren't going to make, it has to be, that goal has to be realistic.
Right.
I think we talked in one episode, and if we didn't, we can do it in the next one, about our goals being SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. SMART.
That's funny. I was going to ask you if you've heard of the SMART goal setting. I'm actually teaching a class right now, and the assignment due this week is SMART goal setting. So this is
excellent.
Very in line with that.
Mm-hmm. So okay, go ahead, Gina. I'm sorry.
From one of us who maybe has a goal of being a professional basketball player, though, I think we should have an episode on the SMART goal setting. Because I think I still could be a rock star.
You could.
But the whole, I think we can use that as a semi-serious example of how to maybe back that up into reality a little bit in the next episode. So I think both of you can be very instrumental in my goal setting.
I would absolutely love to partner with Alicia to talk about SMART goal setting, right?
Awesome.
So this is, and maybe, now I think about, although this today, talking about the increasing the odds of reaching your goals, certainly goals, it goes with the next step of that own it mentality. SMART goals are in there too. So great. Now I know how to get to my goal, but teach me how to create a realistic one. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's perfect. Yeah, that's absolutely perfect. And the rock star thing, you'll have to come back to the next episode and see how it turns out.
Exactly. What I really like about this slide, and maybe I'm still kind of having euphoria from the compassionate attitude, but you break it down into you eat that elephant in one or by a bite at the time kind of a thing, Jeff. When you say accomplish a goal, it sounds so huge that I think a lot of people just kind of tune out. This gives you steps. Okay, you consciously decide, okay, now let's assign a date to it, or a day of the week, and then a deadline, and it just is a nice, easy way of getting into it. I just appreciate the, for those of us who aren't the drivers and the pushers and the ones who are constantly goal centered, it's nice to be able to set goals in this way and be able to complete them. I really appreciate this way of doing it.
Yeah, the key is, well, a couple of things. One, the assumption is that we all want to win, right? There's nobody wants to be a loser. Okay, so the first assumption is that we all want to win. The second assumption is that we all want to be on a winning team. Now that's focused on business, really, but it's applicable everywhere. It's one of the reasons, at the Influence Group, our whole deal is to help people win at work and life. And so everybody wants to be a winner. Everybody wants to be on a winning team. Well, how do I get a winning team in life? And here's a process or at least the outline that talks about if you have this person that you know, like, and trust as your accountability partner, the probability of reaching your goals goes to 95%.
It's crazy.
So we all want to be a winner, but we don't want to win alone necessarily.
Right.
In fact, I don't think anybody does win alone. Even the solo sports, tennis or golf or something, those people are not alone.
No, they have a whole team behind them.
Absolutely. And so our society, and this seems to be, going the wrong direction, or continue to go the wrong direction, that accountability, and certainly having a partner that I've tasked with holding me accountable, is a very negative thing, and maybe it's just because we're in the Pacific Northwest and we're kind of a fiercely independent bunch of people anyway, but I'd like to hold you accountable, and the response is typically very defensive, that says, well, you can't tell me what to do. And I've kind of, we just kind of flipping that on their head a little bit. In my example with the piano playing in Alicia, she's not telling me what to do. She's doing what I asked her to do. That's a huge difference.
Right.
And boy, and if it gets me to 95% chance that I'm going to get to where I want to go, yeah, why wouldn't I do it?
Right. Yeah.
So a couple other things that follow with this. I think the next slide isn't what I want to talk. Here's the one I want to talk about. So I have this accountability partner, and I really don't know what to say to them, or how to say it, or where to even start. And so you just have to remember 3 words. Communication needs to be clear, it needs to be trustworthy, and it needs to be consistent. And boy, I can tell you, there are times in my career that I've always hoped my word was trustworthy, that the words that were coming out of my mouth, but a lot of times they weren't clear, and sometimes they weren't very consistent, because things change, right? But so whatever you say, and to whomever you say it, I love that. The message has to be clear, trustworthy, and consistent. And then I put up a quote here from George Bernard Shaw. It's one of my very favorites. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it actually took place.
Yes.
Well, what do you mean you didn't do it? Didn't you hear me? Right, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so first of all, clear, trustworthy, and consistent. And then I want to talk about this, because this happens everywhere. This one works. This concept, had I learned it when I was younger, may have saved a lot of things. That the clarity part of communication, that deflections aren't commitment. What would be an example? Gina, could we get together sometime to have a cup of coffee? Well, sure. Yeah, I'd love to do that. Okay, we'll make it happen. That's a deflection, right?
Yeah.
We didn't talk about when we were going to do it, what time, where we were going, all those things that bring clarity to the communication.
Yeah.
how many times they said, man, I haven't seen you in a long time. We need to get together. Yeah, we do. That would be, oh, I think that would be awesome. Okay, well, have a nice day. There's lots of that.
Yeah.
That conversation is very polite and cordial, but it lacks any clarity.
Right.
Okay. So the words there, anytime you hear maybe, should, I'll try, probably, are you coming to the game? Yeah, I'm going to try to make it. That means they're not coming.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, probability
Hey,
blow.
will you meet me at such a place after work for dinner or a cocktail or whatever? Yeah, I can probably do that. That means they're not coming. Okay.
It's a true
So,
statement.
right. And so we have to take ownership. Here we're back to the owner thing again of making sure those communications are really, really clear. And so it's very simple. If you're wondering, well, yeah, I'd like to get together for coffee. I wonder when we're going to do that. Ask, when can we do that?
Yep.
If you're not clear, ask. Don't accept these non-commitments as commitments. Here's a big problem. Well, we're all getting together down at, wherever on Saturday. And would you like to come? Yeah, maybe, yeah, that sounds like fun. I should do that. Okay, well, we'll see you then. And then Saturday comes and this person doesn't show up. And now you're mad that they said they were going to be there and they didn't show up. Well, first of all, they didn't say they were going to be there. They said maybe, or I'll try, right? Those kind of things. So, yeah, it's the communication thing I believe that I will continue to work on clarity in my communication until I cannot speak any longer. It's just one of those things. We call it the handshake. It's when both the speaker and the listener take responsibility for the conversation. So now, Gina, if I call you and say, hey, or send you a text, say, hey, let's get a cup of coffee sometime. You would go, well, Jeff, you just gave a presentation about being clear. Why didn't you say what time and what date and where we were going, all that, right? Well, what this says is that the handshake part of this, that both speaker and listener have to be responsible. We have to own it, the clarity for the communication. So if I ever do that and I don't provide that clarity, then you're responsible to go, that would be great to get together. How about Tuesday at 2, at wherever.
Right.
Okay. And then the rest of this just talks about why it doesn't happen, which we won't spend too much time on it, other than I really think it's the last one in that bullet list, that the reason the clarity or that handshake doesn't happen is because we're just really not that interested in getting together, to further that analogy, and we're too polite to say so.
Wow.
And so we go around with all these generalities that lack clarity, that causes communication to break down to the point that now I'm mad at you because you didn't show up when you said you were gonna, when you didn't even say you were gonna. Okay. So
Yeah.
there's all kinds of examples in work, in business, where this applies. I'm using, go have coffee, but I need you to get this project done. Can you do that? Yeah, I think I can fit that into my schedule. Okay, great. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
Right. And then it doesn't get done.
And then it doesn't get done. And then people's feelings are hurt, or people are getting held to standards of performance that they were neither aware of or agreed to, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, the communication is really good. And then well, I'll do 2 more slides here, I think.
Okay.
Is that Stephen Covey talks about the trust is the glue. That's why we talked earlier about the accountability partner should be somebody that like, and trust. If you don't have trust, according to Covey, it's the foundational principle that holds every relationship together. And I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I really don't. If you've lost trust, you've lost a lot. And so this whole clarity thing requires these healthy engagements, and you got to have the trust, like we just talked about, and say, well, I don't know how to trust. Well, we have to be vulnerable. This list, we won't spend too much time because we know what vulnerability is.
Mhm.
And we describe it different ways, but it's really a shell around us, a facade that we put up, that we think that's what other people want to see, or we think that's all we want them to see. And really, true success and happiness and fulfillment comes from taking that facade down and being who you were created to be. That doesn't give us license to run around and go, well, I'm a jackwagon, but that's the way God made me. No, no, you know what I mean? You can't use it as carte blanche to be a jerk.
That may or may
But-
not have crossed my mind. Joe was right there.
Right. And being vulnerable isn't always, the next to the last bullet on that list there about sharing challenges and struggles. We all know people that just seem to just almost vomit all the bad things that are happening to them, and how their health is no good and their mind isn't any good and their relationships aren't any good, and all that's not being vulnerable. Okay, it's not what we're talking about. So, and then this is the last one for the day from Steve Maraboli. He's a leadership guru, and I really like this. It's aggressive, but in my opinion, 100% true. That all the complaining. So this is pulling last episode together in this episode, of the own it and then how to get to your goals. All your complaining and your drama and your victim mentality we talked about, blaming people and whining about things aren't right, and all the excuses, all of that has never got us one single step closer to what we really want. Even if some of the things that we whine about or complain about are true.
Yeah.
Right? Even if somebody did victimize me and cause harm, right? Fine, it's true, but move forward, get to your goal. Let go of all the nonsense, Maraboli says. Because today's a new day. And why is it today? It's because now right? Now I have to own it. I've been educated. I can't not. So
Wow.
there we go. We're not victims. We're not losers. We are responsible for our.
We're winners.
We're winners, right? I don't know. Yeah. How do you do winner? There you go. We're responsible for our circumstances, our process, and our outcome. We're responsible for the clarity of the communication between each other. And we're not gonna, like we talked earlier, we're not gonna complain and whine and bitch about it. Maybe I'm gonna sit with somebody. I'll sit with you in the corner and we'll cry for a minute.
Right.
And then when we're done crying, we're gonna get up and get after it. Right. And follow the process. Oh my goodness, get an accountability partner, somebody like and trust, and the probability of reaching your goal goes up by 95%. Oh my goodness, just do that.
Yeah, do it once.
Yeah.
Feel how good it feels, and then keep going.
Right. So there you go.
Wow. Thank you, Jeff.
Jeff, this is always a moment with you and Alicia. I always walk away from these, or actually, I don't walk away from them. I sit back in my chair and go, holy criminy, it's so big what you teach us. I love that you take the time and visit with us like you do. And I love that you allow us the wealth of what you have amassed. And I understand your statement earlier about, some of the things that you would have done differently. Even that, and that vulnerability is, it's really important to be able to show other people, because maybe we don't always know how to do that. Or maybe it's kind of scary. And if somebody is vulnerable first, then it's not so bad. So I just super appreciate it. And I appreciate you, because you might be on that list of like and communicate with and trust, like and There are three. The
No,
trust
no,
marks.
right. No, like, and trust, right?
No, like, and
You can
trust.
add more if you want, but
I got all of those with you. So I just really appreciate it. And it is such a good thing that our partnership for economic prosperity that Alicia and I play with can bring you to our YouTube channel. And I hope that we keep doing this till at least Alicia has the same amount of natural highlight in her hair that we do. So,
well, thank you for those very kind words. My personal mission in life, and it hasn't always been this way, sadly for me. It hasn't always been this way, but every experience, every right and every wrong decision I've made in the decades that I've been blessed to be on this earth have resulted in this very moment. And I want to help people avoid the landmines, avoid the detours that I stepped on and that I took, because they were unnecessary. And the reason they were unnecessary is because I didn't have somebody I know, like, and trust to help me.
Right.
And so I want to help people because we can be successful. We can, where's Alicia's? We can be winners. And in fact, we all want to be. I think that's we all want to win. We're not losers. And so my whole thing is I want to help people win at work and life.
Good message.
Awesome. Jeffrey, thank you. Miss Alicia, thank you. I am Gina Terusio, and I am proud to have brought you this episode. Thank you.